Yeah, okay. So recording is started. So just for completion, I will just repeat. So basically, your question was that before the lasing commences, that is when we get the Gaussian mode, what is the state of the transverse field that is coming out of the laser? So as I said, what you see, the Gaussian mode is essentially the mode profile of the fabricator cavity that is inside the laser, and once that cavity is resonant, you will see the ground state or the fundamental mode of that cavity, which is a Gaussian. Before that cavity is stabilized, but the cavity is mostly stabilized very fast. However, if you have a very fast detector, you might see the onset of power. For example, we have an experiment in the undergrad lab, which we never have given it to students. We actually see how this onset of lasing might happen. So you need a fast detector, and you see the growth of power inside the cavity and all. So those are fine. Now, as I was mentioning, if you have a stabilized laser, basically whose frequency drifts are very much controlled, then the cavity inside is also, the length of the cavity is controlled, typically using this kind of locking mechanisms, where the length is basically locked to some kind of external standard. Okay, so those actually take a long time to sort of be operational, in the sense that the cavity locking takes time. So in order for the cavity length to become very stable and not drift, you need to keep those lasers on for about half an hour or something. So then they start. These are called temperature controlled helium neon lasers or some things like that. Okay. Now, however, there is a very different class of lasers which are very sort of complex. Those are called random lasers. Okay, so they have these kind of strange, the lasing medium is such that it is highly nonlinear, and you get all kinds of very interesting excitations happening. And those are a different class of research. So those are rarely used for any, conceivable experiments and all. So random lasing is something which, if you want to know, which actually tells you a very if you sort of, they give you very nice information about the nonlinearity of the medium and all that, and you can study some very nice physics of, even like this how these the photons get sort of populated between different lasing modes as a function of time. So if you want, you can do a search on these random lasing. But the steady state Gaussian is achieved mostly quite quickly after you switch on the laser. And if you have a very fast detector, then in principle you should see different modes which are not Gaussian, which are well, if you ask me what that mode is, what those modes would be, that is, I would say, like, those can be so what you should see, I would think, is a superposition of different modes. Okay, because the cavity gets excited immediately as you turn on the switch. The cavity, the fluorescence will fill up the cavity will excite. It will almost, in a few, maybe, hundreds of nanoseconds or microseconds, the dominant mode will catch on. But before it catches on, you'll probably see a superposition of different higher order modes. Okay, so that is what we typically have.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Acha, so let us start today. So I will present my screen. Where is it here? Okay. Yeah, is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Acha, so last class I had stopped. I think I asked you to find out the ABCD matrix. Okay, so let us just quick summary. So what we had done last week was essentially so what we are doing right now is studying Gaussian beams. And what we covered last class was basically to convert the ABCD law that we use for ray tracing. We just converted that. We sort of wrote down the ABCD law for a Gaussian beam, and the Gaussian beam, is characterized by the parameter Q, and so that basically contains information about the beam waist, which is the size of the beam. Remember, very crucial, the concept is this Gaussian is only in the transverse dimension. It is not in the direction of propagation, it's in the perpendicular direction. So it is characterized by this Q parameter, which has the beam waist or the beam width, and also the radius of curvature of the beam. And why is the radius important? Because as we saw, that the Gaussian beam is indeed, there is a phase front which is in the transverse direction, the phase front essentially looks like that of a spherical wave, which obviously has a radius of curvature. And we also saw very interestingly that the evolution of the waist of the Gaussian beam is very similar to how a plane wave diffracts from a circular aperture. Indeed, the diffracted spot that you have through the circular aperture, the dimensions of that spot evolve in a very similar way as the waist of a Gaussian beam. Okay, so basically, a Gaussian beam essentially is called a spherical Gaussian mode because along the z-axis, remember the heart of this is the paraxial approximation, where we say that the beam does not diverge too much from the z, and if we hold that to be true, then the phase front is essentially that of a spherical wave, and on the z-axis it is exactly a spherical wave. Indeed, the Gaussian nature vanishes. The Gaussian nation, the nature that we talk about is basically the actual intensity profile, not the phase profile. The phase profile is very much that of a spherical wave. Okay, so this q is what represents both, characterizes the Gaussian beam in terms of both the waist, which is the extent of the beam, and the radius of curvature, which is the evolution of the phase front. So the ABCD law basically translates in a simple way that so essentially, as a beam hits a piece of optic, it propagates after that, and the evolution of the beam is represented by this q final, which is related to the q initial by this simple relation, where these are of course the ABCD parameters. And what we just saw, I think, was we derived this from the relation for a lens, and I think I told you to verify that if you have propagation by a distance d and then focusing by the lens, then the final waist would be related to the initial waist, again following this law. So did you verify that? Yeah, somebody verified that? What? Nobody thought of this at all? Complete silence. Huh? Anybody tried this out? What, man? See, if I don't give as an assignment, then the thing is not to just forget about it, right? Because unless you verify things, you will never learn them. Anyway, I hope you verify this. What else can I say? I could have asked you to derive, but anyway, so what I will actually get, what we will do today is focusing of a Gaussian beam using a thin lens. This is basically we have been using the formula of how the waist evolves after focusing, especially in the fiber optics practical that you had. But today we will actually derive it. So what we are talking about essentially is, let me just use the figure. Yeah, here it is. So basically, this is what I have. Okay, you can also appreciate that this is the Gaussian beam. I mean, this is the Gaussian beam, of course. It has an input waist, which we can say is say that is whatever W0 or something, W0. So this waist is W0, and after that there is another waist which is after focusing, which I say is W dashed. Okay, so we would like, and the lens is placed right at the waist. We want to find out what happens at the, what is the waist size here. We would like to write that down. I understand that this is a famous, you know how it will go, but let us try to derive that. I think I will leave most of this derivation to you today, because unless I do that, you're not practicing at all. So lens is placed at the waist of the incident Gaussian, and it is focused to a new waist. So my, because it's a waist, you know that the radius of curvature, it's infinity, because we have something like a, it's a plane wave down there. So my, of course, this Ri is infinity. So what I have is basically, this is omega I. I will basically have Qi as uh, minus I by lambda pi W0 square. So this is my, this thing, right? This was, let me write this properly. This is my input waste, right? And okay, so basically, okay, so basically what I'm saying is that this is also traversing. So if this is my axis, this is say traversing some distance d, right? So the ABCD matrix will be ABCD. Actually, that is not correct. This is not correct. This is not correct. This is, D is not that. Sorry about that. So what is wrong? Can you tell me what did I write wrong here?
Sir, the beam has a waist at the lens, right? So
Yes, correct. So this is the, right. So after it focuses, then it travels, right? So basically, we have to write these two things. So this will be the lens by f1, and this is this 0 1. So this is actually the focal length. So this is, I can write that to be yeah. So this is, we keep this as d. We will actually find out what this will be. It's interesting actually. So what we have is something like 1 minus, you could just write down. So can you tell me what this is? It's just very trivial, no? 1 minus d by f. This is d. This is minus 1 by f, and this is 1, right? So why we know that the qf is given by q in qia plus b by qic plus d. Okay. So I don't know what the hell that is. So just putting this, what we shall have is, so now I want you to find this out. Qf is, and we also know that Qf, of course, it is given by some, the formula is just this 1 by r of d plus I lambda by, say, pi w square of d, which is actually wi or whatever, w dashed, I can say, right? So this is my formula, and this will be equal to minus I pi w0 square by lambda 1 minus d by f plus d by I pi w0 square by f lambda plus yeah, plus 1. Yeah, so this is was minus, therefore this is plus, right? Qi was minus here, so this term is plus 1. Okay, great. Now please tell me, calculate, and please tell me the values of this and the, let us get out. Fantastically, this is not working. Okay, anyway. Yeah, these two values. Bolo, I will not say. Find out. Thoda algebra karo. Tell me, and give me a good form, not random form. See, can you tell me how we should proceed? So basically, what I'm trying to do is sort of try to, yeah. So what do you think we should do? To we are our ultimate aim is to find out the W dash, but what is what that we should do? There is a, I mean, this is basically a pretty complex thing that is going to come, but there is something that we can use and therefore get some nice relation. So what is that anyway? So either you, yeah, whatever. I mean, I want you to derive this, and also I want some intuition about what you think we can use to finally simplify life, given that this is a new waste. Are you doing what? Again, complete silence. Oof.
So we can put D equal to F to simplify it.
That is not uh, uh, fair in the sense we should have a general relationship and then find out. I mean, there are that makes it. I don't even know whether but it will make it a little bit problematic. I think if you make D equal to F right now. No, wait. That is a different. No, you cannot put under root. That is not correct. What is this? F is not. Yeah, that is actually F. Okay. If you put D equal to F, then things go crazy, right? It will just become.
As in, like, if you have to find omega dash.
So basically, yeah, so if you put D equal to F, what do you get? So basically, this is D by pi F. So this is one F by one. No, but then anyway, you have to get this out, right? D equal to F, even if you put. See, but then there is a, in the sense that this will still get real and imaginary. Usko karke. Anyway, let us see. There is a, that is in principle possible, I guess, but yeah, I
Sir,
mean,
if
hmm,
on the right hand side, if we
hmm.
multiply the numerator and denominator by lambda and
Hmm.
then put lambda equals to 0,
Lambda equal to
then
zero. Why will you put lambda equal to zero?
because sir, on the left hand side, we'll get only RD. So we can easily compare.
No, no. Why left hand side you will get no, no. Arey, I told you to basically break this up into real and imaginary, and then do na.
Yeah, that is fine. I'm saying that
Uh,
like we can also do that way. Like it will be easier to do.
but why will you put lambda equal to zero?
Because sir, on the left hand side, I'll get
Uh,
RD simply, and on the so I can easily get the expression for RD from there.
what is the expression? Tell me.
Yeah, so it will be minus I pi omega naught square 1 minus t by f
Yeah.
divided by
So
I
that
pi
is
omega.
basically saying that again you're putting d equal to f.
No, sir.
But that expression is very similar to that.
Oh, the d is there. I'm saying you multiply
Ah,
the right hand side, both the numerator and denominator by lambda.
just by
So that,
lambda.
yes, sir,
Mm,
just by lambda. So that you don't have 1 by lambda term. So,
mm,
because we want to put lambda equal to 0
mm, mm.
afterwards.
So this lambda equal to zero is, I still am not, I'm not getting that. Why do you put lambda equal to wavelength equal to zero?
No,
Because,
no, no,
sir,
sir. He is considering that as a parameter,
yes,
not
sir.
wavelength.
Oh, but that is not, that is actually wavelength, right?
No,
You
no,
cannot,
but
ah,
that is means the you are saying that set wavelength equals to zero. No, he is not trying to say that.
mm.
He is just trying to say that I just want to find out the real part, set the imaginary part to zero. That's the only thing he was doing.
Yes,
Oh, okay. So that is basically taking out that,
Yes,
okay.
yes, and the whole.
That is the whole thing. I mean, that of course, if you just multiply in this, that also will work. I mean, that is not too, okay. So basically, you're saying that I will, when I'm putting to zero is the same as separating out the real and imaginary parts. No.
no, sir, that is much easier. Because
What?
for if here you need to take the complex conjugate and multiply
Mm-hmm,
numerator and denominator, and then you have
mm-hmm,
to compare. But I'm saying you simply take out the lambda and put it equal to 0, and then you can easily get the expression for RD. Like I'm considering lambda to be parameter. So
Yeah, but then that there is a multiplicator term here also, na? That is
yes,
a real thing.
uh, no, the thing is,
Then
like,
what will you do? Because if
so,
you multiply by lambda, then this one goes, but there is a
yes,
d into lambda
yes.
here. That is the
So
real
this,
thing.
this
No?
term goes away because we have put lambda equal to 0.
Will you be actually able to separate out the? See, that part works if lambdas are only in the imaginary and not in the real. No, if that is lambda is there in the real part also, then putting lambda equal to 0 will vanish, take off the real part as well. Hmm? You have to cleanly separate out so that lambda is only in the imaginary part and not in the real part. If lambda is there in the real part, then putting lambda equal to 0 will not work. No, I don't think that will work so easily. Unless you're saying that somehow I will take away lambda. You're not going to get separation, get that way, Ritesh. So I don't know if has anybody done the brute force way? Brute force one is the way that typically it happens.
Sir, I have done, but it is not nice. Looks very horrible. I mean, it is
Okay,
pi
so
square omega raised to
let me
4.
write. Acha, no, okay. One thing is that acha. Let me make your life simple. Write this guy as z0. इस पाई लैम्डा बाय डब्ल्यू जेड को इसको z0 लिख दो उसको z0 करके देखो क्या आता है पाई ओमेगा 0 स्क्वायर बाय लैम्डा इज z0 ना सो इज एक्चुअली z0 by f d1 just put pi omega 0 square by lambda equal to z0 now tell me it is much simpler. Actually, I would like to see at the end of this, Anirudh, I would like to see if you put d equal to f. Have you by the chance done d equal to f and got the relationship, Anirudh?
Not yet, sir. I'm doing the brute force way only.
Okay, brute force करो. No, I am very interested to see वो
And
d equal to
I'm
f beta का क्या आता है.
putting
Anyway, तुम
pi
करो ना
omega.
brute force करो. But use this ना, use this. This becomes much simpler. इसको
I'm
करो.
using one more step. Z0 by f को I'm taking as alpha.
अरे बाबा रे. अरे उसको ही तो हम neglect करेंगे at the end. Okay, good. Take that. Z not by f. Oh हो. अच्छा.
So you'll get pi omega naught square by lambda f as alpha. So
अच्छा.
that
Pi.
makes
हाँ.
the
Okay. The
expression
whole
look
thing
simple.
as this thing. Oh, this pi omega 0 by the whole thing as alpha. This whole thing is alpha.
So the denominator will be I,
I alpha plus 1 and this is okay. Okay, not bad.
and the
Not bad.
numerator में 1 minus d by f में you can take the f outside. So it will be
That
I
f minus d.
f minus d into alpha into minus I.
Sir, I got
करो क्या आता है बोलो रोहन.
z0 square into f minus d whole square plus d square f square divided by
Anyway,
z.
अच्छा, I have an expression. See if this is matching.
Okay.
This. Remember ये दो r है. This is square. Is this matching?
Numerator is matching. I'm checking the denominator.
Yes,
Then
sir,
it
it's matching.
has to match. If your numerator matches, it has to match. Okay. Yeah. So Chitradeep also has got that. Or is that Anubhav? Who is that?
Anubhav, sir.
Anubhav. Oof, you guys have anyway. So this one, this is not. This one, check. This is very simple. 0 square minus 1 by d with this thing plus w0 square d by z0 square whole square. This is fine. Rohan, match हुआ?
Sir, it is in different form. I'm checking.
देखो Actually, Anirudh's one is not bad. वो करके भी अच्छा है. Then becomes those is f minus d alpha I alpha 1 plus I alpha. वो बहुत easy आ जाएगा. But then, अच्छा, उसके बाद what is the trick we will use? We will try to get an easy form for this, no? What do you think we shall use? Anyway, check करके बोलो तुम्हारा forms ठीक है या नहीं.
Sir, in the expression for WD,
Ah.
the second term, is
Hmm.
it d by z naught or d by z naught square?
Oh, yeah. Wrong. Just d by z naught. Okay. ठीक है अभी.
Yes, sir.
Hey रोहन, ये part ठीक है क्या?
Yes, sir. It is fine.
Milan, okay. Anirudh, अच्छा, Anirudh's thing, let you do parallel. अच्छा, no, but you tell us what is the trick we will use now. One obvious trick. Trick माने one physics thing which we have to use here. What shall we use? I mean, this basically our aim is to find this, but D and F and all are ridiculous.
Same answer.
What? Huh?
Even
Same
I'm getting
answer.
the same thing. हाँ.
Good. Abhi bolo, what is the? How should we simplify this? There is some kind. See, basically we have to take that D out, na. We'll get a thing from here, na. What is it? What is this thing? This one at the focus.
Infinity.
Exactly. This is 0, right? Right?
Sir, at the focus.
Huh? At here. At this thing, right? At the waist, basically at the waist, at the new waist. When I have W dash at here, it is obviously infinity, no? It's a new waist, no?
But
At the
but he is not-
focus of lens thing, of the focus of the so basically when this part vanishes,
exactly, that is the question, but not at the
right.
focus, right? At the focus,
no, at focus only, no, at the focal plane, RD will vanish, right? I mean, vanish when it become infinity. What is the problem? This is a plane wave, no?
Sir, but if we put d equal to f, are we getting infinity? I don't think so.
Oh, so that is what the thing is. So that is the whole part. See, that is why I said that putting that is a bit risky. It doesn't
actually,
come.
I think not at. That's why the this thing will not set at the focus or something. No? When the that radius of curvature will be maximum or something, we are
Not maximum, basically infinity, not maximum.
so,
I mean,
yes, means maximum. Infinity.
right. So that is where, right? It is at the focus only, na? So typically, see at the new position of the new. Okay, so one assumption here is we are not saying. I think that probably is making sense because we
You are
basically say
sir,
that
you are finding the
new waste.
finding expression for D from here,
So we
right?
cannot. Actually, it's a very interesting thing. So we cannot assume here that the beam is going to focus at F because we are
Exactly.
essentially saying, see, that F thing is only based. It's actually is a very important thing. So where we actually get that thing only when you have parallel beam, which is focusing at this, right? Then this is exactly focus. This is a Gaussian beam. So actually, you cannot say that this focus, that the minimum waist or the focal length for a Gaussian beam will be exactly at the focal length of the lens. I think that is very important. And that is what is borne out here. You will actually not get, because this is not a parallel beam, the parallel rays. This is a beam. Okay. So one can actually, this is, so you can say that not at the focus, you can say that when the beam is focused.
Yes,
Okay, but
and at a particular distance, this thing will
yes,
happen.
yes, that is actually a very important concept, very, very crucial, because we kind of, innately think that the focal length of a lens is absolutely where any kind of beam will be focused. It is actually not the case. That is that the definition of focal length that we study in school and whatever you've studied probably till today is only valid when you have parallel rays coming from infinity. For a Gaussian beam, you actually cannot do with the assume that exact distance of the focal length of the lens is actually where the beam will have the minimum waist size.
But sir,
Because
the lens is at the waist, and at
and
the
that is
waist
fine.
the rays are
At the
almost parallel.
waist, yeah, no, not parallel. You can say, Hitesh, what you can say is that there is a plane wave.
Yes,
Plane wave
exactly.
does not mean parallel. Parallel kahan se hoga? It is not coming. It is not a set of parallel rays. No, it's
Okay.
a thing where it's just a plane wave. You cannot say that it's a parallel beam. Parallel beam mane from even at distances before the waist, it is the same waist, right? So in principle, a Gaussian beam can never be parallel. You see the conundrum? It will never be parallel, right? Because you always have an evolving waist. It's always going to go like that. So very nice. This is actually a very important takeaway. A Gaussian beam can never be exactly a parallel beam. So therefore, you cannot, tacitly assume that D equal to F. The only way we can do this is actually assume this, that this part goes to 0.
Sir, if we have a set of parallel rays,
Uh,
they will be focused at F, right?
oh, dekho, Hitesh, that is actually not, that is, here we don't have rays. And rays are a geometrical simplification.
Sir, the thing
Okay.
is the lens is placed at the waist, so at the waist
Yes.
that is
No,
almost like
it's
it's
not,
a plane wave.
no, it's
So
a plane wave. So
yes,
where does it tell you it's a parallel beam or parallel set of rays? So parallel set of rays are going to come like that, right? So
sir,
it's not
if it's a
that.
plane wave, then it's like the rays are parallel, right? If the plane,
No,
the
no,
wavefront is the plane.
no, but then you have or you have basically, yeah, but that has that. So what will you talk? So in plane wave, this is also focusing, right? So will you say that this is parallel? I mean, in the sense that, so in the sense, a plane wave, if it, so I mean, a lens, see, a plane wave is a complete, it's a idealization. Okay, plane wave does not exist anywhere. Okay, so if you have, so what we talk about as a plane wave is that it has, the best, I mean, so it has infinite extent. That is the only thing. So you can say that in a Gaussian wave, we are saying basically that it's not a spherical wave. But the fact that it's a parallel thing does not emerge from anywhere, right? What is the meaning of parallel? In fact, if you talk about that, what does parallel mean? What is the meaning
Sir,
that way? I mean,
I think if you look at the like lens locally, just after the beam comes out after the lens,
hmm,
then I think if you extend, like draw a tangent and extend them, maybe
hmm.
that will go to the focus, but the waist itself will not appear at the focus. Maybe, I
Yeah,
don't.
no, see, I think, what it's important,
Sir,
Anubhav, is that you cannot assume that whole concept of rays are gone. Okay, you only care about a Gaussian beam coming. Gaussian beam cannot be parallel. If you're putting on the waist, it basically gets a new waist. That is the only thing you are having. If it is
Sir,
not, a waist,
Yes, go on. So you'll finish. I'll then say.
yeah. So basically, what I was saying, if it's not a waist, then the analysis will be different. But if so, suppose this were, this were not a waist. Suppose this thing were like this, okay, and this were like this. So how will you find this out? You will basically start with here, find out this distance, find out the waist, and then say that if you want to find out the new waist or something, you will essentially again do the same way, that you go for a D, then you find at what waist the wavefront is plane. Okay, and that from that you find out where this new D is. So we are basically doing away with the concept of this thing completely. Okay. Now you can say that, okay, now you can ask what is the meaning of the focal length of a lens? How do we characterize that? So typically you can say that, see, remember the way you find out focal length and all that, you know how to do that, right? If I give you a lens, how to find out the focal length, you place it under a tube light and see where the things are imaged. Okay, that is different because the tube light does not emit Gaussian beams. Okay, so anything that is coming like that, and with respect to the lens, it is coming, they are that source is at infinity, and there we can sort of roughly assume that these are coming as a set of parallel rays. However, the moment you consider a laser which has a straight Gaussian profile, that concept of parallel rays kind of goes. I mean, as I think Anubhav said, you can still come to a rough approximation key, as you say that this is like, yeah, sort of, if you say that you draw the tangent like that here and then you draw the tangent, that can be sort of roughly thought of as a focal length. But again, as I tell you, I mean, generally, as I repeat, the focal length of a lens is not measured with laser beams. Never.
Yes, sir. But sir, my point is near the waist, the Gaussian beam is a plane has a plane wavefront.
Yes, that is fine, but that is no way assuming it's a parallel this thing, right? Parallel set of rays. I mean, that you cannot assume.
Yes,
So
sir.
I'm
Regarding
not sure.
this point, I don't get the connection of how we are connecting the beam waist divergence or itself with the ray picture. Ray picture is
Yeah,
basically
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
wave
Yes,
vector, right?
yes, right.
Because in Bessel, because that's my topic for this, in
Uh,
Bessel
uh,
beams,
uh.
you have
Hmm,
the base does not
hmm.
diffract, but the K vectors are actually in a cone. So
Yes.
from the cone structure, you can never actually intuitively tell that the width will never diverge. That's why I'm not getting why are we trying to connect the ray
Right.
picture
That is
and
what
not
I
that.
was saying. So this is a Gaussian beam. There is nothing to do with rays. Rays are a complete idealization. Okay, they are for geometrical optics where you have infinitely far sources which are not Gaussian, which have nothing to do with that. Okay, a Gaussian beam is a special mode. Please understand, it's a beam. It is not light that is coming from an extended source, which has no structure that way. Okay, so there is nothing. The only way you think of a lens focusing is that where the waste is the minimum, and where the waste is the minimum is where we consider that the radius of the wavefront is infinitely large, and that is how you just go about this problem. There cannot be any kind of mention of rays here because that is not what you are. They are a very different, like, class of entities altogether. Okay, so that is, I think, something which we have to realize. This is a Gaussian beam. This is not really that. Okay, a rays. Anyway, so then from here, you will get a condition, right? So what is the D that we get from here? Very simply, can you tell me? Yeah, so if you take this up out here, very simple, right? So basically, it is something like this 1 by F. You get this here. It is essentially 1 by F square plus 1 by Z0 square, right? है ना, जस्ट मल्टीप्लाई करो, इसको ये ले जाओ, d कॉमन लो, इससे आ जा रहा है, राइट? So let us go to a new slide. Okay, focusing a Gaussian beam by a lens. Continued. So we have essentially got this d as if I, so it's what, 1 by f by 1 by f square plus 1 by z0 square, which is basically if you say that way, this is basically f by 1 plus f square plus z0 square, which means you will basically get f z0 square यहाँ पे और यहाँ पे f square plus z0 square, right? Okay, and this spot size, अभी spot size क्या आएगा? Can you tell me? So spot size वो पिछले वाला expression से just put that, no? So we had what, w0 square 1 minus d by f square plus w0 square d by z0 whole square, right? तो इधर बैठाओ, बैठा के बोलो कितना आता है? Tell me the answer. Tell me the full answer. In a nice form, tell me the answer.
Sir, W naught squared f squared whole into f squared plus 2z naught square whole divided by f square plus z naught square whole square.
Hey, Anubhav, it will be easier.
Sir,
It will be
Oh,
much
okay.
easier.
I got w naught square f square by f square plus z naught square whole square.
F square by क्या?
F square plus z naught square whole square.
Ah, exactly. This, na? Right?
Yes, sir.
Ah,
Sir,
correct.
one
Absolutely
more
right.
thing. Why is that w dash? As in, isn't it w dash whole square?
Yes, 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 yes. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Absolutely. Hey, yeah. Anubhav, did you get this or have you made some mistake?
Sir, I think I have made some mistake somewhere. I will see later on.
Just check that, check that. So this one is basically now w0f by z square plus f square half and तो इसको हम थोड़ा ठीक से लिखेंगे तो क्या आएगा w0 by z0 f by 1 plus f square plus z0 square.
Sir, there won't be any power half in the equation.
Yo, what am I doing? Hey, no, yeah.
Do that thing again. I think.
Hey, आएगा power आएगा.
Oh, okay.
ये कटेगा. This is wrong. This is wrong. ये नहीं
Oh,
है.
right. There's no whole square.
ये no whole square.
Ah.
There's no whole square. Yo, okay, so this is half. Is fine. Okay, so basically ये W naught को ठीक से थोड़ा लिखते हैं. So this is sorry, Z naught is pi omega 0 squared by lambda. So this one basically becomes lambda f by pi W naught. तुम्हारा 1 by this is 1 plus f square by Z naught square half. ऐसा. Okay, now we of course say that typically your Z naught is much greater than f. Okay, so this is true for what? So typically, you guys remember we actually were measuring that? I told you to find out Z naught for a beam of 2 mm radius. Remember वो कितना आया था? हाँ, ballpark कितना आया था? I think I asked you to calculate ना कि कितना
Of
आता है?
the order of meters, I think.
Meters, right? So this is valid, but this is so once this is valid, so this is gone obviously. So which means that we neglect f squared by z0 square, which means that this one is the crucial relation. This, guys, it should, however, very straight in a straight manner tell you that this is only valid when this is true. So when you have, you know, either very small these things, you know, so if you, so the moment you have a small z naught, what does it mean? What does small z naught mean? Huh? Yeah, small z naught means what?
Diverging beam.
Exactly, right? A small z naught means basically, so let me just write this. So takeaways valid only for beams which have large z naught, which means comparatively collimated beams, right? What does collimated beam mean? Beams omega 0 of the order of few mm. If you have for small omega 0, which means small z naught, this is not valid. So let us, if you go a bit deeper, that basically means that if you actually have a small w naught, so this essentially means that my beam is something like this, right? That itself again basically challenges the paraxial approximation to some limit, in the sense that it tells you that the moment you do not have paraxial beams, the simple formula will not hold. So diverging beams are more complex, much more complex, and you have very interesting physics, but they will not. But again, as I said, for most beams and for most standard experiments that we do in the lab, unless you use things like a microscope where you have like extremely small focal length lenses with basically very high numerical aperture objectives, you are safe. This is perfectly fine. Okay, so what I will actually maybe request you guys to do is actually try to find out the angles and all. Okay, you can actually see by, so it's like just a consistency check. Okay, so essentially if you find out the if you start with the 2 mm beam and you focus by 25 mm lengths, okay, so what is the angle after focusing, you can actually try to see, and you can sort of verify that the paraxial equation is kind of internally consistent. Okay, what you understand what I mean, right? So basically you you know what the hell happened here. So verify that the angle after focusing a 2 mm beam by a 25 mm lens is small. This is actually good. I want you to tell me the answer. Maybe I'll put this as an assignment. So what do you think, Vishwajit? Can we just put this as a small assignment?
Sir, I didn't understand the question. Which angle are you talking about?
This one. This one.
Sir, I mean,
Actually,
it
opposite. Yeah.
the thing that you've written on top, right? Where you've derived d is f z naught square by f square plus z naught square, and typically we have that f square is much larger than z naught square, so you can see that the d is nearly f.
Yeah, D. But no. But what is important, Anirudh, is D is not exactly f. So there'll be a slight difference.
So if you divide that by z naught square, you'll get it by f 1 plus f square by z naught square.
No, you'll get basically, yeah, and then you neglect that. So right. But then this is the problem, is that if you use that approximation right at the beginning, no, then
I mean,
that
not
is the
approximation,
thing.
but like you can
It is like
straightforward get that angle
almost.
from there, right? Like,
Yeah. Yes. So just no. I'm saying that find out the angle. No, tell me the angle. I'm saying do it quantitatively. Quantitatively do. See, because again, guys, this is very important here. I mean, it is like, not knowing the wavelength of red light. See, there is a difference in saying that red light has the longest wavelength, but how long it is important to know. So just find out what is the typical angle of bending. So 25 mm lens is a very small lens, right? So the more higher you have, the greater it will be. Just see how much angle it is. Yeah, I can directly put these values and check. It's trivial, no? Because I mean, yeah. So
like what I was saying is basically it'll behave like a ray only. Like there won't be much deviation from ray.
Yeah, right. That is correct. There's not be, but then again, it's not exactly it is, you cannot straight put that assumption and straight say that this is like a ray, and therefore I put f equal to z, d, and equal to f, and then uh, go 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 by this. Acha, by the way, so if you put f equal to z, do you get this actually? F equal to d in that initial thing?
Haven't tried that.
No, that we can see. No, yahi pe hai, right? So basically, what does this mean?
Last
So
page with I guess.
no, yeah, yahi to hai na. This one, no. This one, right? This I put f equal to d, then we get, so f equal to d, we get what, w0 square plus w0 square f by pi w0 square by lambda, right? You get w0 square plus, oh no, this is 0. Oh, this is 0. So first term is 0, right?
Yeah.
So you will basically get just w0 square d by, no, you'll get nonsense, right? F by, oh, there is a square. So you will actually get that back, right? So pi square w04 by lambda square. Yeah, you actually get that. No?
Yeah.
So lambda f by pi lambda square f by f square actually. Yeah, pi w0 square. Yeah, right. So you actually get exactly that. You actually get that. Right? You actually get that. We are actually assuming that and then getting this back. Okay. Pi square.
Because what assumption we're making here, no, actually, we are not making any assumption here, right?
No, we are not making any assumption here. No, we are only thing that we are saying is that the actual relationship is not this. The actual relationship is something like this. This is how the waste should go.
Right.
This is how the waste should go. But so you can see that if I put it here itself, it will become. But the actual relationship is not this. It's not this. It's actually this. So this is a approximation. So you have 1 plus f square plus w0 square.
So we basically made the approximation over here by saying that the focal spot will be at f.
At f, correct. Almost like that. Yes, correct. You're right.
And in the second part, we
see,
made the approximation that z naught is much larger than f.
larger than
So
f,
basically,
right.
these two approximations kind of give us the same result. Like although they are
Kind
very
of,
different
yes.
approximations.
Yes, that is actually very true. If we assume f equal to d, then you will basically get w dash square is this. So basically here, we assume, oh, this is completely screwed up, man. Let me write this properly. So if we assume f equal to d, we get w dash square equal to w0 square x square by.
So it will be more accurate if you assume d equal to f.
Right. You're right. Absolutely agree. Absolutely. So see, but the important thing, Anirudh, is that this one does not have any approximation at all. So this is true for actual thing. See, this you don't. So wherever you have a lens, this is completely valid.
Yeah, that's right.
This is very powerful. So the actual expression is this. So if you do not have the lens on, so if you even have a sort of more diverging beam or whatever, where this assumption goes, is problematic.
Or
This
you
is
can
the
also have
actual
a
thing.
lens that is not very highly focusing. A very weakly focusing lens will also, where f is much larger, basically.
Yes, that is also true. Very true. If you have a very large focusing, yes, that is actually true.
Basically, the focus is
I agree.
of the order of the divergence of the beam.
I agree. So like a very weak focusing lens, then also you will get a bit of a problem. That is actually right. So this is very interesting. If you have a weak lens, then it actually is a this is quite interesting actually. If you have a very large f, because see z0 has nothing to do with f. They're independent things.
That is fine.
No, so but this is interesting. No, if you have a very weak lens. So, but then again, no, but see, but what is when you say it's a weak lens? Yes. So, Anirudh, so then this basically becomes like Z. Then basically it is very similar to just your W square is W0 square 1 plus Z square plus Z0 square, right? This does nothing. Almost like that, I guess.
Sir, no, I didn't understand your point.
I'm saying that this basically becomes like the propagation of the waste. It's like the free propagation of the waste. You know what I'm saying, right? So basically, if you're saying that, okay, but this does not, there's a minus problem or something, no? So I'm saying that if this f is very large, okay, then the focusing, of course, is there. No, the focusing element will be there.
Like you don't take it large, take it in the order of z naught.
No, but see, that is also huge, right? So, for example, what we found out for like 2 mm waist size, we saw that the Z0 is 6 meters or something. If I what something like that we found, right? That means if a lens of that length is like, it's a joke, right? I mean, I'm saying that does nothing. I mean, so basically,
Sir, like,
saying,
why would you, that relation that you wrote on the right hand side, that is got nothing to do over here, because that is how the waste evolves with z. This what
right.
we're seeing here is the waste at the minimum waste, basically.
Yeah, no. What is interesting to me, if you have a lens which is almost not focusing, does it have any effect on the waste at all? Or does it just propagate like a normal Gaussian? That's what I'm trying to see. You understand? So basically, if you're saying that I have this, no, W0, so if like f is extremely, it is big, comparable to this, then I mean, in the sense, does it have any effect? I mean, it has a very small effect actually. It probably has. I'm saying that will this thing be different? I mean, this is not, if I sort of, I mean, I cannot expand this to anything, right? I mean, if f is large, then if it's very large, then of course I can neglect 1, and then I have this as f square, this is just f by z naught, right? If this is
Yeah.
very large, this is like f by z naught, and then I have so then this cancel. Okay, this is nonsense.
So you get lambda f by pi omega naught
No,
into
but if
z
you just
naught by
think,
f.
but
So then ff
think
cancels. I
right,
think
right.
you'll just get. Uh, I think you'll just get the waste remaining the same basically.
Yeah. That doesn't make sense. Yeah, because see, I'm not kind of no, but then I am going by d. No, that's the problem. Yeah, I have assumed d. Okay, no, that is all bad. Yeah, because I am assuming that there's going to be a new waste, right? Yeah, so that is the issue. Okay, I have assumed here that there is going to be a new waste.
So
So
there
if
will
I
be a waste.
right, so this cannot happen. This is wrong. So this
That is
basically means
a
that this
different
is
concept only. That
completely
is
wrong.
the z propagation of the waste.
Yeah. No, I'm saying no, but that basically means that the waste will keep on increasing. So the inherent assumption here is that the waste will be sort of initial waste is reduced. That is a big sort of assumption. Whereas here you keep on saying that the waste will diverge. So even if you keep a large focal length lens, its effect will still be to shrink the waste of the beam somewhat.
Yeah, that is true.
That is true, right? That is an interesting thing. I mean, obviously, see a lens, but then see most conceivable lenses are like maximum. I don't know. I have never seen a lens of more than say what 10 centimeter level, 10, 20 centimeter, 20. That is very large. A meter like lens is it's like a glass plate, right? That's what I'm thinking. Is it really a lens? That is the whole point, right? Anyway, TK. So next class, what we will do, a very interesting thing is basically we will start, tomorrow. That is, we look at the Gaussian beam inside a cavity, the Gaussian resonator modes. So that is very nice, very important, and we will just continue our concept. That is a nice concepts also, but that also includes a lot of calculation. So once we are done with that, I will give you this nice problem of solving the, finding out design a ring cavity which actually works, and then we will go to higher order. So we have almost covered our syllabus actually. So after that we go to higher order Gaussian beams. Just we have a we see how might Gaussian and Laguerre Gaussian beams look like, and then diffraction like Fresnel Fraunhofer and circular aperture. And in principle, that is the end. Though maybe I will spend a little bit of time on optical tweezers, because though there are people who are going to say on that, maybe just the basic thing of, because we have started the whole premise has been to discuss, our problem has been, the way we have designed the course is to look at how we can trap microparticle, nanoparticle. So if I don't tell you how we trap, I think it's not fair. So I will tell that a bit, but not in too much of detail. I'll just basically tell you what happens, what are the forces. Okay. Okay, so I'm stopping recording.
Sir, I have a naive question.
I'm okay. Is this connected with this?
Yes,
Then I have
sir.
not stopped. Okay, then tell me.
Sir, how is the plane wavefront formed by the light coming from the sun is different from the plane wavefront formed by this laser at the beam waist?
Okay, so sun is an extended source, first
No,
of all.
sir. Yeah, that is fine.
Mm, mm.
So
How
we
is
have
it
two
different?
types of plane wavefronts. One is that the light coming from the sun that also forms a plane wavefront, and another one is the plane wavefront formed by the beam at the beam waist.
Yes. So see the
So
beam.
how
So
they
how are they
different?
different? In what's in the sense of like what when you say different, mane, what are you meaning? Mane? See, let us say that what we have, the way we have constructed the theory of the Gaussian beam, we're essentially saying that there is a there is some kind of a region in the transverse extent where I say that the radius of curvature is very large, and that is close to infinity. So once that happens, that basically means that you have, your it is completely a plane wave, because there is no I mean the spherical wavefront part that I've thrown away. So basically I have an e to the ikz that is just a plane wave, right? So now, so this is something by which I characterize the Gaussian wavefront. So you will always have some place where, you know, radius of curvature is large, and wherever it is large, I say that that is the waist. And if you say that, declare that, then you can see that the value of this parameter of the W, or this thing, that is the smallest. Okay, that is the smallest. So
Sir, like, no, experimentally, if I like try to measure this wavefront, will that be
hey,
different?
how do you measure wavefronts? Hitesh? I don't even know how you measure wavefronts.
No, wavefront in the sense that you get the intensity profile.
You will not get anything here. Intensity profile, अरे face का तो information goes from intensity profile, ना? Wherever you measure intensity profile will be Gaussian. See, understand, this whole construction is basically for us to calculate or predict the size of beams and all in this model. And we of course see that it is consistent, because what we observe is, of course, if you find out, you know, how a beam propagates as per the waist propagation, then it is like it is essentially going to follow that W square equal to W0 square, that thing it follows, which means that our initial assumption was consistent. Okay, remember, wavefront, the only way you get any information about wavefronts is by interference experiments. And interference experiments you do with laser beams, right? So laser beams, again, if you think of it, you are essentially assuming that they are plane wavefronts, but actually they are not. I mean, see, collimated beam, you remember I told you in the Mach-Zehnder that they are all plane, right? That is not correct. Now you know that that is absolute, that is in principle it is not, I mean, strictly speaking, it's not correct. But it works because, again, the evolution of the waist tells you that it goes very slowly, very little. So I can say that the wavefront is not diverging, so it is always a minimum. It's like very small. So when it's minimum, I know that the radius of curvature is infinite, is very large. So see, as long as the the radius of curvature is very large, then you know that it is close to a plane wave. When you see that the beam is diverging, then you know that it cannot be a plane wave. It has the spherical wavefront is manifesting itself. When it does not manifest itself, you get what is close to a plane wavefront.
Yeah,
Right?
so
And
yeah,
that is the whole point.
But in the end, we are getting like plane wavefronts in both the case. Like in sun, you originally have a spherical wavefront, but then
Yeah,
since
but at
it's very
such a large distance, it is R equal to infinity.
yeah, so this is
Huh.
one type of approximation.
Huh.
Here, we are saying that near the beam waist, this divergence is very small, so R goes to infinity. That's why it's a plane wavefront.
In the
So
sense
there,
that the spatial extent of that is very small.
yeah, so
The
that is
spatial extent of that wavefront where it is plane is extremely small.
yes. So like mathematical approximation is different in both the cases, but physically they both are the plane.
Kind of, yeah, of course, definitely.
Yeah, so my question is back to that original, like where I was asking. So why is that this focus is different from D? Because in both the case, if you take the light from the sun, the focus will like all the lights will be focused at F.
Yeah. But
Yes,
here you
and
will see that, no, but Hitesh, you can see here that the exact formula is not that, no? So there will be a slight deviation.
why? Like this is fine. This is maths. I do not worry about that. My question was near this.
No, but that ray thing you cannot assume here. No, sun is not a beam. The
Sir,
sun is
but
coming out as it is basically it is a spherical wave, right? So spherical wave is still not a beam.
sir,
The
no,
moment
that
you talk about beams, the whole
So
concept
the
of rays
difference is in the
disappear.
transverse direction. Like in the
Yes, yes,
beams, the
exactly,
transverse direction falls off,
exactly,
but in sun it
exactly.
doesn't fall off.
Does not. That is what I'm trying
The
to say.
sun, so the sun's beam isn't a diverging beam, but the Gaussian is a diverging beam.
Yes, yes, and it's a beam, yeah. It's not a ray. It's not like a, it's the it's not a spherical this thing, right? It's a beam. Beam money. It's not comparable to rays. That picture itself is wrong. It's like quantum mechanics and classical mechanics. You cannot confuse both pictures, right?
that's the thing. I'm not able to see through it.
Yeah, the whole.
See,
I
sir,
think.
can I
Huh,
can I
you yeah,
so
please,
so
please.
basically in Gaussian beams, the we basically don't have like one single k vector that is like basically plane. We don't have a plane wavefront. So even on the length scale of the lens, like basically on the dimension of the
there is
lens,
variation.
there is a big variation in the transverse direction, which means there is a lot of different k vectors that we have. So
Correct. Absolutely.
whereas
So
if you
what about near
compare that with
beam
the
waves?
sun, if you compare that with the sun is relatively compared of parallel k vectors falling on
Mm,
the lens. Like there is
mm,
not much
mm.
variation in the k vectors falling
Yes,
on the
yes,
lens.
yes. Very true.
So you can say that you can directly follow ray optics on the light coming from the sun, whereas on the Gaussian beam you cannot directly do that because it's not all falling at k vector. There's a lot of divergence in the
Variation.
No,
That
that's
is a
fine. I'm
yes.
saying near beam waist, there your k vector is parallel to z. No,
Look,
if that is not the
uh,
case, then it's not a plane wave.
No, but still, you can't. Even at the beam waist, you can't say that you can't write your Gaussian beam as e to the power I k z into
right.
something.
There is a profile. I mean, there is an e to the minus x square plus y
That
square thing there
profile is just instantaneous at that point. The k
at
vector
that
is
point. Yes.
still the same only.
Yeah. So basically, again, if you think of it, Ritesh, this is just like a. It is well, it's not a singularity, but it's like a single one plane where you have that thing happening, and then again immediately it changes. So that plane is like a as yeah, as we just discussed, as Anirudh said. So it is basically just that fleeting sort of infinitesimally
Even at
small
the
region where
even at the waist, the important point is the transverse direction. Since the
yes, yes,
transverse direction is falling off, there is a lot of sideways pointing k vectors.
So
yes.
what do you mean by sideways pointing
as
beam?
in as in diverging basically, like since
Mm.
the transverse direction falls off, it basically is
So then it's not a plane
distancing
wave.
itself from a plane wave.
So how's that a plane wave?
It isn't a plane wave.
No,
No, it is right. That's why we take r is equals to infinity at beam wave.
no. Wait. There is one difference in the sense that the
That is
intensity
not
of
a plane wave. That is just the wavefront is a plane at
wavefront.
that point.
Yes,
That doesn't mean
exactly.
it's a plane wave.
That is a big difference. Yes, it is. It is not a plane wave. The wavefront is plane. So plane wave, there is propagation, right? At the wave, there is no
Plane wave is
propagation.
something that has a plane wavefront that goes
At
as a plane.
different points. Yes, and
The
at
Gaussian
different z
beam just
points.
has a wavefront that
One
becomes a plane
plane.
for an instant.
I think that is the basic answer, Hitesh. You do not have propagation as a plane wave. Never. You just have one plane where the wavefront is plane. That is not a plane wave. We can say that the wavefront is plane. So saying that it's a plane wave, that is incorrect. You understand? Because a wave means propagation. Here, the moment you get out of the wave, is again immediately not a plane wave. So there is I do appreciate this. There is a difference between saying that the wavefront is plane and a plane wave.
Because a plane wave is not just a plane wave at a single plane. It's
Yes,
plane
exactly. There is
throughout that
propagation.
propagation.
As you go along the z, everywhere it's a plane wave. Whereas there is no wave here, right? A wave means propagation, right? There's a pointing vector. And at every point of z, if I say that there is a propagation, then everywhere it is plane. Here, so there is a single plane. So I'm saying it's a plane wave front. It is not a plane wave. That's a very important thing. And I guess it's a very nice point. It's a very subtle point. But we have to sort of give cognizance to this. It is not a plane wave. It's a plane wave front at that point. At that plane, you can say that z equal to 0 plane. It is only that. The moment you progress, it is again not a plane wave. No way it's a plane wave. I think that is what is there's no propagation as a plane wave. Never. Are you satisfied?
Okay, sir. Yes, sir. I think I got it. Sir, and one last question. Why are we considering this particular construction where we have placed the lens at the beam waist? What
Make
about if we
life
shift
simple,
the
yeah.
threshold?
Make life simple. I can give you a problem where you get a propagation. No, but the approach will be exactly same, Hitesh. Exactly same. You start with d equal to just you see
No, that is
what
fine.
the real
Yes.
approach here was making that wave thing. See, as I told you, so I made life simple by saying that I do not assume propagation before the lens. If I assume propagation of lens before the lens, my ray matrix would have been different. मतलब कि तुम्हारा पहले एक माने फर्स्ट प्रोपगेशन देन फोकसिंग देन अगेन प्रोपगेशन ये तीन आता okay, but after that if you wanted to find the new waist, again you would have used the same approach कि तुम्हारा जो expression है, you would have found out that W is a function of D. D माने propagation after the lens, huh? And then at that region where the waist is, I mean the wavefront is plane, you basically get the new waist and you say that my denominator goes to 0, and you would have found a different expression. Here, for simplicity, I did not assume that initial propagation. So that just makes life slightly more complicated. But see, you can, that is the basic. So but then it is a bit meaningless here, because finally, if you think of it, I have a waist. When I say a waist, it's just a beam diameter. But then the big approximation that I'm making here is I am assuming that to be purely imaginary. If it were not purely imaginary, the math would be just much more tougher. Right? So if you can say that for collimated beams, this will probably work because the beams diverge very little. I can say that there is but it's an approximation, but it works extremely well. For first principles, it works very well. Okay. Okay. Chalo. Bye for today. Let me stop recording, and very good discussion today.